It's Friday. It's almost evening. In the Jewish world, that's Sabbath. It's time for rest. It's time to take a break. I'm on my roof. You can see it. I'm taking a break. We've been in our house an awful lot. It's nice to be up where I don't think anybody knows I'm here. But this Friday evening reminds me of two important Sabbaths. One was really officially the Sabbath of the week. The other was Passover, Feast of Unleavened Bread, which a whole week they were supposed to spend without work, resting. And if you remember the first Passover in Egypt, they were supposed to kill a lamb, slaughter a lamb and eat it, and then sprinkle blood on the lintels of the house. And the Lord was to pass over. And if they saw the blood on the lintels, then he wouldn't allow the destroyer to come into that house. But they weren't supposed to leave the house. And I can imagine what kind of fear and wonder some might have felt. What will happen if I go out? I can't leave. And many of us feel that. I'm sure there were folks in the ancient world, the Hebrews, who blustered around and said, well, I can leave if I want to. Who's to tell me who's to tell me to stay home or not? And it doesn't say. And it doesn't say there are any consequences of anyone who left. And I'm sure many of us are still out and about doing things. But it is interesting to think about the ancient Hebrews not working for a whole week. Many of us have not worked for a whole week. Some of us are out of a job and are wondering, okay, we made it through a whole week. It's Friday. What's going to happen next week? How am I going to provide? Some of us have jobs that are critical jobs. And in light of all this virus and pandemic potential, can be fairly dangerous jobs. So there's fear all around. Wondering when the Lord's going to pass over. Is the Lord passed over? Has the destroyer come? Not. It gets kind of heavy pretty quick. The other Passover, the other Sabbath, is on that first Holy Saturday. The first Holy Saturday was, there's not much written about it. Really, it's the night on the first Monday, Thursday, Jesus had the Last Supper with the disciples. I have desired to eat this, share this meal with you. And then he's betrayed by Judas in the garden, and he's taken before the Sanhedrin into Caiaphas' house, and then he goes through all this and is finally crucified on Friday and dies. He's buried, put away on a Saturday. What happens? In Luke, it says that the ladies, the women of the disciples, they set aside spices and got ready for the next day, but then they rested in accordance with the commandments. I wonder if that kind of rest felt like we feel now. I'm stuck. I know horrible things have happened. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. My plans have really shrunk down. We, even just a few weeks ago, we were planning out the summer, and now, I don't know. I don't know if there will be vacation or if we will travel or what. I don't know. I'm sure the women of the disciples felt the same way. They took one step at a time. We are going to prepare on Friday. We have spices ready, and then we're resting according to the scriptures. The encouragement here is, are you resting? And not resting because you've earned it, you've done something worthwhile, and you're taking a break. No, that's the Sabbath is resting in God. The Sabbath is relying on God and putting all these things that we worry about, all these things that are difficult and hard, and putting them in God's hands. That's the Sabbath. And what God does when we rest, we can find our rest in God. It's just like the Hebrews in their first Passover. You know what happened? Over a night of terror and fear and uncertainty, it was okay. It's time to get and go, ready to go. And it was a life of freedom after that. Freedom in the wilderness, freedom in Canaan to find a new place and a new land. When we find our rest in God, we find freedom. That might not be freedom from having to be on the roof or out of our homes. But I'm thinking more freedom from fear and anxiety. Freedom from making ridiculous decisions because there's only one more roll of toilet paper in the store. Freedom to be able to give and love. Freedom not to yell at your kids because it's not your kids, it's you, your anxiety. Freedom to hope. So friends, I hope you can find your rest in God tonight, tomorrow. I hope that God will protect us and sustain us. I pray for health, pray for God's providence. Frankly, pray for rescue. Lord, rescue us. Rescue us from this disease. Rescue us from our bitterness and anger that keep us from each other and from helping each other. Lord, rescue us. We pray all these things in Jesus' name. So friends, hang in there. And remember to look for God's rest.